It's hard to believe that this isn't even the best that Toei Animation's staff and animators can offer us. Because of their announcement a day ago, and them saying that they're going to be putting One Piece on an extended hiatus for 6 months to improve production quality, art and animation, update the sound effects, and even give us a nice little remake/re-edit of Fishman Island, it is just astounding that this is basically, I believe, the last episode we're getting for One Piece for the next 6 months. I could be wrong there. Don't quote me on that one. But it is still insane to think that this is at least one of the final episodes of the One Piece anime for the next 6 months. I mean, I was already kind of gassing this up yesterday, basically saying One Piece is really unfair to seasonal shows, especially since it's the last remnant of a long-running anime, and even despite it being a long-running anime, and long-running anime having a lot of flaws and issues, somehow Toei Animation and its management team managed to pull together a really excellent staff that has made, honestly, some jaw-dropping of One Piece. And it's not just one, let's say, key animator really carrying the entirety of One Piece's latest arcs. It's multiple animators, fresh animators, old school animators, animators that have become to make names for themselves. It's just really impressive to see non-stop quality to this degree. And it's just like, I've said this in the past, and I'll say it again, it's unfair. It's really unfair just how good One Piece looks, because it's like, when you see something like this, there is an argument to be had. Maybe Toei doesn't need to worry about being a seasonal, or it doesn't need to be a seasonal, because it's clear that long running is doing them wonders. But obviously there is a counter argument to this, which I discussed yesterday. But let's get into the main point. I don't want to kind of retread and rehash everything I said in yesterday's video, but I do want to talk about, in general, this episode that came out, and just what we can look forward to going into the future for One Piece. Now, before I get into anything else with this video, there is something I want to talk about, and that is what the title of this video is. One Piece is over-animated. Now, this is not my words. This is not what I believe in. I don't believe in that whatsoever, but this is something I have seen become a lot more common in the last, not few months, but even few years at this point. I think where it really began, where I started to see it really amplifying and a lot of people talking about it, was when Luffy went Gear 5. When Luffy went Gear 5 for the first time against Kaido in the One Piece anime, I saw a lot of people saying that One Piece is just over animating. Like, they're over animating it to such a degree that it feels unlegible. Like, you can't understand what's going on in the individual scenes because there's just so much flashing lights, effects, and colors and all that. You don't really know what's going on because of the, how it's done. The choreography looks like a mess. That's what people have said for a very long time. Now, personally, I'm just gonna make a long story short, I disagree with this. I don't think that One Piece is over-animated. I just think what we got is a mixed bag of a lot of animators really having different animation techniques and different ways they want to animate the show that really causes certain scenes to stand out more than others. For instance, this Garp scene for this week's episode of One Piece, and how it is just truly jaw-dropping of an animation feat. For instance, when Garp goes against Koji and he's like popping off, people do say that this is over-animated, but like I said already, I completely disagree. I do not think that One Piece is over-animated to any way. I just think that because of how stylized it is, there's just so many moments that stand out. There is very bright and vibrant colors, I'm not going to lie, and sometimes it might be hard to see maybe, but I don't think it's necessarily because it's bad choreography or anything. I just think that One Piece just looks very unique at this moment. Feel free to disagree with me, but one of the big topics that drove me to really wanting to make this video is obviously the quality of this episode of One Piece, also the hiatus that's been announced, but on top of that, what I've seen some comments from people for this episode saying that it's over-animated. But anyways, let's shift over into a new subject. Let's take a look at this scene real quick, because this is a scene I've been seeing a lot all over social media, on YouTube Shorts, I've seen it on TikTok, I've seen it on Reddit, I've seen it on Twitter, obviously. A lot of people are talking about this sequence, and I want you to, instead of just looking at the art and animation, okay, and how pretty it looks, I want you to listen to the sound effects for a second, because I think that is a big detail that really needs to be honed in on, and why I feel like Toei going on an extended hiatus is a very good thing. So just listen to the sound effects here, okay? Because here there is very old. They're not bad sound effects by any means, but anyone that has watched a lot of Toei Animation products, aka like One Piece or Dragon Ball, you definitely see some overlap. Usually when Toei Animation releases an anime, you can definitely understand that they love using the same sound effects from one series with all their other represented series, which is fine. It's cost effective. It's like if you have a sound bite, you have a sound effect for something, why not use it if you've already recorded this many years ago? It saves money. It's cost effective. But the thing is that one thing I didn't really talk about much yesterday is that the sound effects are very dated. I'm not saying that I dislike them, I'm not even saying they're bad, but a lot of the sound effects do feel very 20 to 30 years old at this point, and it feels like, modern day sound effects that really fit along with the music and the vibe of the art and animation would do wonders. And one of the big details that was pointed out with One Piece going on its 6-month break is that instead of just improving the production quality of like the art and animation, they obviously want to improve the sound effects and music. And I think that is going to be a huge, boon to the One Piece series that not a lot of people are really going to talk about. I've seen it mentioned in passing here and there over the years of One Piece's anime's life cycle, but I don't see a lot of conversation around just how old the sound effects are and how they just don't really fit One Piece much anymore, because it's just like they're very Dragon Ball-ish. In some cases they do work, but it doesn't work all the time, and it feels like they really need to upgrade them, and I'm glad that's the direction that the One Piece staff is probably going to be doing. Now, I'm getting back into a tangent of what I talked about yesterday, so let's get on topic with the episode. So this episode of One Piece that came out is, to put it simple, a masterpiece. Obviously, there can be flaws I can outline with this, probably with pacing and all that, because obviously one of the big reasons why I feel it's a good thing One Piece going on break is that the pacing of One Piece's anime is, to be honest, ass. It is. I'm not saying that, Toei hasn't done a better job with it as of late in these past few arcs. They've definitely done a lot better. I mean, once again, looking at Dressrosa, looking at Whole Cake Island, looking at Punk Hazard, looking at Fishman Island, they've definitely done a better job with pacing. But even then, despite that, they still, most of the time, only adapt like half a chapter, maybe not even a full chapter, 75% of the chapter. You get the point. It's an inherent issue. And so if I am looking for flaws with this episode, yes, that is probably a flaw. But disregarding that, looking at everything, the episode is magnificent. It is truly a magnificent episode that is a testament to how good a weekly series can actually look, and on top of that, a long-running show. Now, one thing I really do want to dive a little bit deeper into that I didn't even talk about in, yesterday's video, is that One Piece will probably be the conclusion of long running. Will there maybe a long running series in the future? Sure, probably. But I do think that One Piece is the last breed of its kind of a long running, and that when you take a hard look at just like how this show looks, it really is going out with a bang. If this is like one of the last times we'll see a long running One Piece or long running anime to this extent, I do think that at the very least, it's going out on a massive explosion instead of a whimper that is disgraceful and disgusting. Imagine if, like, in a different alternate timeline, instead of getting stuff like this with the One Piece anime looking absolutely godlike, imagine if we would have gotten, like, for instance, Dressrosa, and it was just so bad, the ratings dropped so bad, that the anime was straight up canceled. Now, I know that's unthinkable, I know that, but just hear me out. The thing is that, like, the One Piece anime for a very long time wasn't doing good, and just to see it really improve its reputation and see just so much positivity around it, it's a dream come true, honestly. It really is, because for a very long period of time, I was always on the notion, like, if you're to get into One Piece, personally, I would say watch the first half of One Piece post-time skip, or pre-time skip, I mean, and when you get to post-time skip, if you're really feeling up to it, only watch Fishman Island, but even then, that is pushing it, and I always suggested reading the manga after the time skip. But now that the One Piece anime is clearly getting remade, Toei's going out of their way to remake Fishman Island arc, and then we have stuff like this with the current stuff with Egghead and Wano, More or less, I would say that the anime is probably going to be a better experience in the next few years. Give it another 2 years, One Piece's anime will be probably the best way to experience the show. And I cannot imagine how magical of a journey that's going to be years to come, especially just looking at episodes like this, where like we have Garp going all in, or we see, you know, Kobe as well go in, and his great, like, honesty, like, you know, punch here. It's, there's a lot of great stuff here. I cannot imagine, like, those that eventually find One Piece 10 to 15 years from now. They've never heard of the show. They never watched or read it. And they go in watching One Piece. They love it, obviously. And it's been reformatted, re-edited, maybe diced down to maybe 400-something episodes, you know, when it finally comes to an end. Imagine just the emotional journey that someone will have watching One Piece from episode 1 to the conclusion, like the actual conclusion. Like, once again, this is unthinkable at this current time period because obviously One Piece is still ongoing. There is still a lot more content to cover, but we are in the final stretches of the storyline. But imagine in the future, 10 to 15 years, someone starts One Piece and they're able to finish One Piece. Obviously, it'll take them maybe weeks, maybe even months to finish, but imagine the emotional roller coaster of starting from East Blue, getting up to Wano or Egghead, and then many arcs after that, like, as after this. Imagine that emotional roller coaster, being able to continuously read or watch the series non-stop until the final page is turned, or the final scene is animated. I cannot imagine how incredible of an experience that is, and it honestly makes me a little bit sad that I will never probably get to experience something like that, or I won't be able to experience anything like that, because obviously at this current time, you know, we're actively reading and watching One Piece. We're getting to see scenes like this in the moment, which is a joy in of itself, to be there in the moment when stuff like this happens, but I cannot imagine the journey of just seeing the start to the finish with no breaks whatsoever, no hiatuses, no wandering or anything, just being able to binge the entire show. That's going to be incredible. I've gone on a little bit of a tangent, though, but let's get back into on topic. The episode of One Piece that came out this past weekend, it is, once again, another incredible feat from the staff at Toei. I heard that one scene in particular, this Garp scene, I don't know if this is true or not, so, you know, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but from what I heard from sporadic, like, comments, that, apparently this scene with Garp was animated by, like, an 18-year-old, like, a fresh animator. Don't know if that's true or not, but even if that is the case, and it might not be this full scene, it is still nice to see Toei opening the doors up, opening up their arms, and allowing newcomers to really flex their skills with the One Piece show, and it doesn't feel like dog water. Like, oh my goodness, like, think of Dragon Ball Super, like, when it first started, okay? I feel like everybody knows this one, they recognize this one. But, like, when Dragon Ball Super started, like, 2016, 2017, it was somewhere around in there. It was 2018. It's been a while, okay? It's definitely been many years. But when Dragon Ball Super first started, and Toei Animation, you know, was beginning it, the first few episodes, let's just be honest, were ass. They were ugly. They were not good whatsoever. It was not up to the legendary status of what Dragon Ball should really showcase. That's what the entire community said. I agree with it. And it got so bad that Toei Animation literally had to apologize. Very fitting. But, getting into the main point, though, it was clear at the time that Toei, even though they were using potentially newcomers and animators and stuff for the Dragon Ball project, there wasn't probably a lot of quality control. That's at the very least what I'm assuming with Dragon Ball Super. There wasn't necessarily a lot of, like, quality control. Maybe they were rushed on time or whatever, which resulted in the issues it had. But this is relevant to the current situation with One Piece because it seems like they have a lot more time to work with when it comes to the One Piece series, and also their other series they're working on, like Dragon Ball Daima, for instance. So, I don't know, I know this is a little bit retreading the steps of yesterday's video, but I'm so impressed by this episode, and I'm just impressed by the feats that Toei Animation's able to do in these recent years. It's just not something that's relatively normal, because people will be quick to go on record and talk about, let's say, Jujutsu Kaisen, or Demon Slayer, you know, stuff like that, stuff from either studio, you know, Ufotable, or stuff from, like, Mappa, but they disregard Toei, because for a long time, Toei was just known as, like, really subpar for a very long time, but now clearly they're not. They come to really respect them. I really have. I really do hope that, when they do return with One Piece, I cannot imagine how much better the show is going to look, just looking at these episodes. But okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me your thoughts on what your favorite moment was from this episode of One Piece. Are you sad to see it going on break? Are you excited to see the future of it? You know, do let me know in the comments below. So, talk to you all later. Chibi out.